Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. I'm here now. We're back on the 49 Chevy fleet line. And I'm here now getting right into some homemade stuff, building stuff up. I got a bunch of box of parts here. I got some new stuff. I'm going to have to use templates and do a lot of thinking because I got to build something from scratch. So, stick around. So we're here now again, back on the 49. In the last video on this car, you saw me do the cutting bolt, and I went and finished welding all this up here in front. I still had to do the other side. I didn't want to bore you guys with that. I went ahead and I done this side over here, finished welding it all up, got it all done. Now it looks like it just belongs there. I got all that done. It's more the same. It was a lot easier than that side because I had some major problems over here. This side just basically went together and just welded it all up and ground it all up. There was nothing there to actually look at to say, yeah, there's some neat tips there, because it was more the same of that side there. So now that I got both of these done, I'm here now sizing up the next step that I'm going to do on this car. There's still a lot of stuff to be done on this car. As you can see, this mess of a firewall got to be done on this here. So I got to figure out something with this firewall. The engine is mounted in this car and it's not in a straight, okay? It's about, I don't know, I think there's like 12 degrees or something tipped back, and it's way too much. All that got to be remounted. Whoever threw it in there, it's only a temporary fit, I figures, because it's only tack welded in place. Now, the whole thing with it is, in order for me to get this out, because I want to get this out, I want to cut the firewall out of it, I want to mount the engine and transmission in the car properly, and then I wanted to build a whole new firewall for it. But before we can do any of that, this temporary support system that I got put in it, okay, that has to be removed. But I can't remove that until I build some sort of rad support for it. And this is what we're at here now. The one thing with this car now, unlike any other old 50s car or anything like that, this car is permanently now as one. These fenders are much the same as what the quarter panels around the car. It's permanently part of the car. These will never come off, okay? Every bit of structure that I'm going to build from this here now, in the rad support, in the fender welds, all that type of stuff, it's all going to be welded into the car, because I'm trying to give as much structure as I can to this car. Because when this car is all done and it gets it all filled and everything, you don't want these places here cracking, okay? Because there's no support in along through here, and it sits on a rubber mount, and everything up here is flimsy and whatnot, okay? What I got to do is I'm going to build a rad support down through here that's going to go out, and I'm going to tie it in to the bottom of the fender here, underneath it, where there's a molding there. You saw me make that that grilled piece that goes down on here. I'm going to have a piece that's going to be tack welded on or spot welded on across here. That's going to have a support running in. That's going to come up to the rad support. That's basically going to be about here somewhere, going across this way. Okay. Now the rad support got to be set up for a radiator and a fan and also an AC condenser. And I got the frame rails widened up, so I can actually figure out something for down there. I got a lot going on there. So if you watched me removing this was the actual front rad support section that they had put in the car. This here, I think, is out of like a 95 or so Camaro or something. That's what I've been told. That's what I've been told it's come out of. This here is a Griffin radiator. It's been measured up. The funniest thing about it, this radiator is the same radiator I have for this one, because we took the radiator I had in that, and I done a quick test fit on this car, and I liked how it fit, so all we did is we went and ordered another one of them radiators. So we got this radiator here, and I also have this electric fan that I got to mount on the inside of it. I'm going to make a fan trowel and have that mounted on the inside of this here so the fan works and whatever. So what I got to figure out first, I got a whole bunch of figuring to do. I got to measure from the front of the engine where it's to now, because basically where the engine sits now is going to stay. And I got to make sure I got enough room between the radiator and the front of the motor that this here will fit and the fan will fit, and there's still room to the actual front of the engine. What I'm going to do here now is I got to do a lot of drawing and figuring and measurements and do it all. I'm not going to bore you with that. And when he comes back, I'm going to have something figured out for that, with this, to go in there. It is now day 2. I spent all day yesterday figuring things out, drawing things up, coming up with ideas, changing my ideas, coming up with more ideas, changing them ideas. Just trying to get a game plan. I had to sleep on it, figure out exactly what I was doing. I woke up this morning and I said, yeah, okay, that's the route I'm going to go. So here's what I come up with, okay? I sat down, and this is my lovely drawing here. What we're looking at here, of course, are the headlight pots, the outside of the fenders, right here. This is the front frame rails, okay? These points here are the openings in the hood. Let me show you, okay? The points I'm looking at here is the point here and the point here. And I'm also looking at this point out here on the outer edge of the fender right here, okay? Now, I talked about it before, like this is unitized now, so I'm trying to put strength. I can put a rad support from here to here, but then there's nothing out here. The whole of this fender's all got to be hanging off something, okay? What I want to do, I want to continue on the rad support to head out to join on out there. Now, I got some issues. I got the tire turned over here now, you can see it. It interferes with this, so I'm going to have the piece coming across whatever I design. It's got to have clearances for this tire to come across here, okay? That's the idea I got in my head. I played around and laid the radiator in place. I would like to have the top of the radiator higher than this vent tube, okay? I don't want to have like an air pocket where I got to fill up the engine. I want to be able to fill it up from the rad cap and not have to worry about it. So I got to adjust the height of the radiator accordingly, okay? I played around with the idea of using that Camaro one. This one here, and there's just more trouble than it's worth. I cut the top off it, and the way it's all shaped and everything, it's just not going to fit where I want it to, and it's so straight, it doesn't flow with the car right. So I scrapped that idea. The most common thing anybody would say, just build it all out of square stock. Square stock, square stock, square stock, square stock. But, yeah, but to me, I've always liked to have some sort of design. And you look at a rad support, rad supports are sheet metal, that type of thing. And I said to myself, I'd like to make it out of sheet metal. I thought about making it out of pipe. You know, square stock would be the easiest way to do it. It'll just look, I don't know, it'll look ungodly, just a big old square stock, like a race car or something. But I'm trying to make this look like a custom. So I'm trying to make every little piece of this car have a custom feature to it all. So I have this point here I got to take in. I got a spot down here I got to build a mount I got to take in. And I got a spot out here that I want to take in on the fender. That way to support it. And I might put an X brace on it. I might run something from here in later, okay? There's a lot I'll add strength to that piece, but I want to do the rad support to go the full length of the nose of the car. And I want it to pick up a couple of points on the front of the car here and here to give stability to the front of the car. There's inner fender wells going in this car, okay? As well, I'm going to make inner fender wells going back. All of them are going to be welded into the car permanently, okay? This car will never come apart again unless you cut it up with a torch, okay? So all these pieces I put in here, it's going to have a body mount right here so you can unbolt it and take the body off chassis, okay? Other than that, everything else is going to be welded to the actual front of the car itself. So what I come up with is this sort of design over here. It's just something simple, okay? This looks like square stock, but it's not. This comes across here. This takes in the point on the fender. This takes in the point underneath the top of the fender, which will have a bracket on it. I think I'm going to have this piece bolt in for now because I got to take the motor and everything out of it. I don't want it in the way. So I'm going to have that bolt in probably when I'm finished with it. It finds out how hard it is to get the motor in and out of it. I'll probably have that permanently mounted. I'd like to have that welded in, but for now, just for making it easy to work on the car, it'd be nice to have that out of the way. But this will come across here, drop down. There'll be a turn here and a turn here. This will be squared off on the bottom side, and the radiator will mount here, and it'll come up and be mounted underneath this here. I'm trying to have the radiator hid in the front of the car. All you'll be able to see is the filler neck. I don't want to see the top of the radiator, none of that type of stuff. So I'm trying to design something around them lines so that when it all goes together, all you got is a rad cap, and that'll be it, okay? She'll mount out here, and of course I got to build mounts here. I have these mounts here that came off it. I got them there. And what I'm going to make a set of stands from a piece of 2x3. I'm going to take these here now because these here will fit quite possibly this way here. Yep, they'll fit that way there. So I'll take these here now and I'll cut these down on an angle like so. Come back like that and might leave it a bit of a stand there and have this here. So this is the mount itself. So this here will be mounted to this. This will be welded to the front chassis. Then the actual rad support will bolt to this. What I did, I went out and I found a bunch of this stuff. This stuff is like 16 gauge. I have abundance of it still kicking around. I must have this 15 years. Very unusual shape to it. It's top off lockers, I think is what it is, right? But like it's kind of hard to get any. You can get pieces out of here, but it's never ever big enough for what I want. But this here is set up this way here, and it works good. This is what I come up with. This setup here. Okay. All I did is I took sections of it, and I'm going to box it off. It's like so. I cut these corners here to put a rolled edge in it. I'll weld the lip along here and weld it in so it'll have a nice rolled edge. You could have just come out, went down, and went over. Down here on the bottom, I'm going to come straight off this way here. I thought about rolling it off as well, but I said no, it's just too much to actually get it to roll on. And I have to adjust the height of this here. I'm not sure, like this might be even just welded onto here yet, I don't know. But I want to be able to have it so I can move it up and down to adjust it, okay? The actual body mount, the front rad support mount will be right here. I'll reinforce this section here for this here. Now this is like sheet metal, okay? The strength is coming from this here from bending it up, okay? How did I come up with this width here, this size here? Over here on my brake, I wanted to be able to put it in there, make it simple that I made every single one of them the same way, because they're all going to be built the same way. This is the thick width of my brake on the inside here. I can bring the panel up tight to this here, bend it up, and I got the exact same size every single time. I'm using the actual brake as the actual alignment tool. I'll bend one end up, slide it in through, bring it up tight to this, bend the other end up. Then my base section, this section right here, will always be the same. I put a lot of thought into this, you know, thinking about different ways of doing it. This, at least this way here, I can actually add sheet metal to this now and close it in like you would on a regular rad support. I might end up putting a few speed holes down through here for drainage or whatever. Now this car is never going to see much rain if it sees any at all. That's going to go out to there, and that's going to be welded onto the fender there. It's going to come across here and tip down there, and there'll be a mount right there where my thumb is to. And that's the way that'll go there. But this is where I'm to with all this now. I want to go and make a bunch of these pieces now. Just bend up a bunch of them, have them ready to go. I wanted something generic that I can go with, but something I can get a bit of style with, because this here looks a lot nicer going across the top of the front. When I turn this up this way here, I can turn this around, and this here can actually come across this way here, like so, okay? And I can have that above the radiator, and the radiator hole will be on top of that there, and that'll just cover everything right up like that, okay? And I can probably put a few speed holes or something in it, might put a bead in it, I don't know yet. I'm not getting that far into it. I'm going to build this as I go, but the biggest thing for me is I wanted to find all these points here where I had to get my height in to where my radiator is going to go, so I got something to start with. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut up a bunch of this here and bend it up like I got this one here done. I got to do another one of these here. I got to cut these up here to start making mounts for these, get holes cut in these here, so the mount actually goes on these here. So when I get so far into this again, I'll bring it back. So here's where I'm to. I've been trying to figure things out. It's kind of hard to explain what I'm at, but I'm trying to figure it out myself, okay? I've been trying to get the radiator to sit in a spot and trying to get all my distances, make sure I got enough room from here to here for fans, and make sure that the actual height of the radiator is higher than the actual highest point on the engine. That's critical, okay? Now I got to lower that engine down, so if you look at it there, look across the top of that, it's pretty well best kind of now. When I lower it down, it'll be fine. Trying to figure out how much drop I needed, where my mounts were going to go, and how to design the bottom side of it. I have it all figured out here that I'm happy with it now. I've stepped away from it for a few days. The weekend came and went, and I got to think about it some, you know, just lying in the bed in the morning saying, is this going to be good? Is this going to be right? Can I do this better? And I keep coming back to the same conclusion what I got here. I'm going to have to, first thing I'm going to do is going to have to get this all down here, all figured out. I'll show you that when I take it out. And get it all welded together, get it all one piece, and start there. And then I got to build off of that there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip this apart. I'll show you what I got done, and we'll get this all welded up. Here's what I got going on here. This is roughly put together here now because it's just all held down with a couple of clecos and whatnot. I got another one of these C braces made, and I got it flipped upside down. I'm going to build a little square mounts off of this here that the rad will slide down over, okay? And they'll hold that in place there. All I'm doing here now is I got to cap the end of this piece here, and everything's going to be plug welded together. I'm going to plug weld this in through here and on the back side here. I got to finish off these corners here. I got to make pieces that will go from there to there on the inside and out. These here got to be kept at a right angle. This is the height that I've got figured out, okay? So all this here can be trimmed off after the fact. I'm here now, and I got to concentrate on getting this bottom piece. This is the bottom of the rad support. I got to get this all finished up so this can be mounted in the car. And I know okay, that's permanently done. That's where that got to go. So I'm going to go ahead now, get the pieces made up, and get these welded in along here. Get this here cleaned up. Get the ends capped on this here, and get them plug welded, and get them welded together there. And then we can go from there. There you have one corner done. All it was a square block. I didn't get carried away with it. Didn't try to shape nothing at the first. I like leaving it all alone to the last of it. That way I can fine tune it after. If you try to cut it perfect, you're always going to run into it's going to be too small here, too big here, and just nightmares that you run into. But that's as simple as it's going to be there. I'm going to go ahead now and get the other one, this one here, completed. Get that finished and get the other one made. So I got two of them done. Nice little braces, nice angles on them there now. This is makings of it. Both of them are done. As you can see, it was just a simple little piece of steel that I put in the corner, welded it inside now, grinded it and dressed it. Now, some are going to say, well, couldn't you use a shrink or stretch around that? Yes, but you got to realize you got to shrink both corners, and you got to shrink them a lot. What's going to end up happening in here is you're going to end up really crushing this metal in here and really mangling it to make a tight radius like this here. It's going to be hard to end up with a nice crisp edge on this here like this here. This here will be all squat flat. and the amount of time it's going to take, because you got to bend this one so far, because you're trying to bend the whole thing over, okay? So it'll only start to move somewhere, and you got to keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. To me, this is faster, and I get a consistency between the two of them, okay? Because I made them the same. They're done. What I got to do now is I got to build the end piece that'll go into here, that will spot weld on, that mount there will hang on there. So here's the lower cross member. Now, one thing I did with this here is I dimpled in the ends of it. As you can see here on both sides. All I did with that, did in the vise like so, and just hammered that there. That's all I did. Using the old hammer I got here. So that went like so there, and I done that to all four corners, and that made this here be able to slip inside on one of these pieces, because all these are the same width, right? So what I need to do here now is I need to make something now that I can put in here that'll spot weld to this panel here, and it'll mount to this here. And I was going to weld a piece along there and just have it come up on a 90, but I have an abundance of this stuff here kicking around on the bench. I got more of it over there, and it always got a real nice crisp bend on it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off this way. So it goes along this way here, and dress it up, and I'm going to spot weld it on here, and then I'm going to spot weld it on here, and I'll do the same with, I'll make small ones that go on the bottom side, so that way it'll be a larger piece mounting on this side here. So there'll be lots of strength and everything there, and I'll put a little design or something in this here, and just dress it up a bit, and come up and make a turn on it, and have something spot welded on, so it actually looks like a brace of some sort. And I'll get them trimmed up. I'll get a few of them made up now, and see what I can come up with. So here's where I'm to. I made up this little bracket here. And this one here, this will be on the bottom. This one here will be. And this one will be on the top going this way here. And then that'll be spot welded in through this side here. What I'm thinking about here now is I'm trying to think ahead of myself here. How am I going to be able to weld this up without having to, like in here, this is going to be hard to grind. You've been with a dog grinder doing it all. I would just like to leave the factory spot welds, whatever way the welder makes it that way there. What I want to do then is I flipped it over, as you can see, I got them there. So I'm going to spot weld them on there, and I got to weld them, grind them, finish that one. That one's done. Then this one here, I'll do from the same side, because I can get at it from up here, and I'll spot weld it down through here, and then I can grind that there. But when it comes to this section in here, this got to go in here like so. It's going to be hard to do in here, so I'll do that from the back side out here. I got to make two more of these too, for the other side. Got it all mounted back together again, mounted on this here, because what I need to find out, I got to mark this here. So I can cut that off there, I can cut that off there, also marked it in here, so I can actually figure out where I'm going to put the holes to on the inside, because I'm going to spot weld them from this side here, because it's easy to grind out here, and I haven't got to do no grinding in there. So I got them marked there now. So I'm going to get this off, get these cut, and get the holes drilled in them there, so I can start putting this together permanently. So I got everything drilled out, cleaned up, ready to go. I'm here now. I got my I-beam taken out. I want to use this for straight edge and for alignment purposes. I got this centered in the I-beam. My I-beam's not long enough for the whole works fit, so I got it evened out. And then what I'm going to do is start mounting each piece individually. I'm going to measure from the face here out to the edge here on both sides. Get this straight this way here. And then I'll measure from this face here to the base of this here. Make sure two of these are the same on either end, so one is not higher than the other. I ended up having to drill out the Cleco holes on the sides here, because I found that I wanted to get a couple of these weren't lined up perfectly in the heights and that. So I said, no, I'm going to have to go this route with it now. I used that to get it all put together. Now I'm fine tuning it. I'm going to get it all set up that way. Now I can actually spot weld right here on both sides, and it'll give it more strength. So let's get this together. I love my vice grips. I took a bunch of measurements here, measured from this edge out to here, this edge to here. Then I measured from that edge there to the face of this hair here and here. Two of them are the same. Measured from here out to here, same. Made sure that they were parallel to the actual I-beam there and there. Okay. So all that is straight, and I got it all clamped in place there now, and getting ready now to put a couple of welds on. I'm going to weld that one up there, and I'm going to weld that one up there, and I'm going to start welding the back side here, this bottom side here, and start welding this here, just right where it's to. So get this welded up. I flipped it over and let it go and welded up the other side of it. It's all one piece now. You can see the ways inside there now. I haven't got to worry about doing no welding or no grinding in there. Or no grinding in there. Or no grinding in there. Or there. Right? I'll just leave that just like it is. You probably sand it or whatever, like, you know, give it a quick rough up. But you haven't got to worry about grinding welds, right? It's nice and tidy looking. And all my grinding I'll be out here. I'll be ready easy to get at. I just get out here and I'll just grind all this flat here. And that there. And dress all it up. And that'll be brand new. So that's all cleaned up. So all that is done. You see the way it all just turns blue on the inside, nice and smooth, right? Nice and clean, it's all one piece now. And like, you know, there's no actual beads of weld or no around, it's all done with spot weld, so it's nice and solid. Now I can turn around and do a test fit on that, but I know I got to build mounts for it, so I'm gonna go ahead now and get started on the mounts. I got this here, just simple little design here made out here. And I got two pieces of this here. So it's just simple 2x3 is all it is. And I'm going to cut it out and have it so I can drill a hole in it here. And that's what the mount will go down on top of. And this will be welded onto the chassis there. So I'll get these cut out. It's just going to take the cutting wheel now and cut them off just like it is there now. And I'll make two of them. When it comes back, I'll have two mounts made. So I got two simple little mounts made here. It's made from 2x3. I was going to get fancy with the sides, but I said, no, that'd be fine like that when it's mounted on the frame, the best kind. You could have made two from the one piece of metal, but what I was trying to avoid is the seam on these. These got a welded seam in the actual 2x3, and I wanted to use just the actual press part of it. So I needed two pieces to do that with it. I set two of these up back to back, clamped them together, marked the hole, drilled a hole through the center of them. So now I got a center hole for both of them there, all ready to go. So they are ready. Now I can just kind of mount them on, weld them onto the chassis, but I got to put a hole in there, that size there, so it actually fits down into the actual hole itself. So that's the next thing on the agenda. Let's get them done. So now that I got the mounts all figured out and the cross member I laid up in place and sized it all up, what I'm going to do here now is this front end here now is going to be in my way, so I'm going to remove all this here. But I'm going to mark it down along here and lay the pieces. I'm going to put the pieces that I made, put them in here. I'm going to take a marker and mark this section here because I'm going to have to trim this up in here because I think I would like to have the rad support also mount out here as well. I'm trying to tie all this in to this section of the car here to give it lots of strength. So that's what I'm going to do here now. I'm going to go lay the pieces in place, take a black marker, mark this, and pull all this off. So all the front is off. Now I'm in the process now of putting the mounts in place. As you can see what I'm doing here now, I got the piece of angle iron laid across there. And I got them marked in two locations where I want them. That's the width of the actual rad support itself. And then I centered them up in the middle of both of them there. And then clamped them on and brought them in tight to the rail. And all I'm going to do now is just weld them right on there. So I got the mounts laid in place, and I centered them up, marked the hole there and the hole there. Now the one thing I got with this here is I measured off the original, it's hard to see there, but there's factory holes in them frame rails that were, the original front end is there. It's the only thing I got to go by for a measurement, and I'm measuring off of that forward to make sure that it's the same, that is parallel in the car this way. And that's what I'm going off of that. One thing with this car, after taking a bunch of measurements, the car is over this way, probably might be a full 1/4 of an inch, not quite. So I've got to go back 1/8, basically what it's got to go back. So when I put this rad support in, I got to make sure that the gap here on the frame rail is a little bit tighter on this side, because I got to push the body back over this way here, and that'll center it all up. Now rad supports are always adjustable, so I'm going to make the hole big enough so this slides back and forth. And that way there's a bit of play there. But when I goes to weld it in the car, I'll bring it over this way a small bit and weld it on. I went ahead and marked the holes and I drilled them out. I got to have them a little bit bigger. I want them big enough that I can actually move the rad support around a small bit. But for now, that's what I'm going to do. I have plans of building a structure in here that'll go up. But I want to get this one here figured out first before I goes at actually building that. Because I want to have that incorporated into this pedestal that's going up as well. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead now. I got the bolts there for that. Lay it up in place and get it bolted down. Well, I've been busy again, making stuff up. I've been taking some more of this sheet metal I got here. And I got some of the stuff that already got angles on it. This stuff here. And I need this angle here. So I've been cutting pieces out of it. The only mistake with it is, after making a couple of them now. And what I've after doing, the first one I made too narrow. The second one I made backwards. When I cut this top section here, because I had to cut it on an angle, I cut it backwards. This is supposed to be folded this way, and it won't work on the other side either. So I end up having to make 2 more. And this is what I come up with. They're going to be welded on down here, and they're going to be welded onto the body there and there. It was a bit tricky doing them. They're just bent up on an angle, and these are angled like this here, so they lines up with the fender there. I got to clean all this metal up here now, drill out a couple of spots down here for spot welds, drill this out up here. I got to do some repairs here where the fenders and everything were too before. Then I'm going to cut out and weld a piece of it. Same with this side here. Do the same thing over here and get that done. So that way I can finish this off and get them welded on and get that welded on there. Then I got a support holding the front up that when it comes time, I can take this out of there. So let's get these all ready now and get them installed. So I got them all welded in and grinded up, both sides. And as I was welding them in, I started thinking about this being mounted over here. Now the problem being what it is that the weight of it is going to be on a few spot welds just along this section here. And I got to thinking, why don't I do a brace up here that's welded on to this going down here? And what I mean by that, every time I seen structure put together on a car and there had to be a downforce on it, there was always a flat lip up here that the weight could be rested on. And then it will just distribute it out through a large section. This is what I come up with. I got this piece here. This is one of the old ones that I ruined. And I cut it up. So my plan is that all I did here now is I laid that flat up there. Like so. And then I cut it to the angle of that there. And now I'm going to rotate that down around there. And have that so that when that's done, that'll fit up behind there. Okay? And what I'll do then is this here will be welded, say roughly to the top of this here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this here welded up, folded down, welded up back in place again, and get that fitting in place where I think this is going to go, and work on getting that there to weld to this here. There you have it. One done. This is something I just come up with last minute when I start thinking about it, and I notice how a lot of panels, when they reinforce like overlap panels, and there's a spot with that has the rest on it, instead of welding this up here, because you can't weld this up here because it's on the top side of the body here, and I find that over time the spot welds will pull, so you don't want to weld like anywhere on the smooth part of your panel unless it's covered up. Like down here I'm going to be welding along here, but that's fine. Up here I wouldn't want to do it, but I want to weld along here, but I want to reinforce this here, right? And this is one way of doing it, and it gives it a little bit of you know, style to it, the way that's done there now. I'll run the upper rad support now off of this section here going across, because that's a nice beefy point to come off of. And I got this one done now, so you see spot welds on the inside, and this is what it looks like on the outside. I always like doing it this way here, spot welds. I don't like running beads because you always see them. Spot welds, you can disappear them, and that two pieces just looks like they're glued together. And I like that look better, so. That's one done. I'm going to go on and make the second one for the other side now. Let me get these installed. So I went ahead, I got these panels ready, and I went and put some paint on them. It's been drying out for a few hours. I want to put something on them because when this goes back in the car, you're not going to be able to see most of this up in here. It's going to be hard to get at later on, so I want to make sure there's some paint on it. Over here, I got all the holes drilled. Up along there, and up along there. So now I'm going to position them. Mark these onto the actual panel itself where they're going to, because I want to remove the paint off of these here. This is not just a weld through, this is just an old rust paint that I got kicking around here, silver. So I'm going to mark these, grind off the little spots, and get them positioned, and get that spot welded on. So there you have it. They're permanently part of the car now. Same with this one over here. Some of you just jumped in here and started wondering, like, why didn't I have this rad support bolt on? Because it's going to be a unitized car with a full chassis. I have a lot more structures going to be going in here later on. For now, I'm looking to get the radiator mounted. That's my goal, and then I'm going to start closing things in, because this is going to have to be triangulated side to side. But I intend to do that with welding a plate on here, like sheet metal. But I haven't decided how I'm going to do all that yet. What I need to do next is I'm going to need to get the radiator, two mounting points for the radiator, so the radiator can lay onto that, and then work on getting the upper section here, whatever way I'm going to design it, for the upper radiator, so I can actually have the radiator so it bolts in the car, and have an upper rad support so that I actually got it all squared off. And then we'll go from there. Over here on the radiator, all it is I left the cardboard wrapped around it because I'm looking to protect it, but I cut out the bottom section. Right here is where I'm going to have a mount lay in here. It's going to be one there and one there, and the radiator is just going to lay on top of something. This is the exact same radiator, because I took the one that I had for the Toyota and we sized up and realized that it was the perfect size, so we ended up just ordering the same radiator. And all I'm going to do is much similar to the way this was done here. That type of setup, the way I got that mounted in there. I'm going to make up a couple of mounts that'll mount on the lower cross member that the radiator can fit in. That'll keep it from going side to, or front to back like that. And I'll just make them up out of some heavy gauge steel and just have them so that they welds on to that lower cross member. So here I am, I got a piece cut out. I just got this 3 inches wide, and there's a piece there, so I'm going with that length that's there. It's a scrap piece that was already there, had some stuff on it, and I figured I should be able to make something out of that. The bottom of the radiator is 2 inches, so I'm having this here 2 inches wide. And then I have in this section right here, it is 5/8 of an inch, and then that's just whatever's left over. What I done here, I started off, I found the center of it, and then I measured off an inch here and an inch here, because I knew it had to be 2 inches. And then I drew off these two lines here, just trying to have it centered in the piece of plate, so I made sure I had enough on either end for the plug welds where it's going to weld on, see? So, and then I worked out from that from the middle outside. I got that done. Now I'm just going to take the vise and bend this up. Now I brought the vise through here. So let's be creative here now. Now that I got two of them made, what I'm going to do now is I'll plug weld it in through here on both sides. So I got to come over here now and figure out where I want to put them. And you can see they're a little bit long. I'll just cut them off. And that'll mount there like so and be welded on. There'll be another one over here welded on. The radiator will just slip down to that. That'll hold the radiator in position. So I got to lay it in place and I got to center it up in the car. And I just marked 2 points. I don't want to go too far out to the edge because I don't want this here section here rubbing on the mount itself. I only want to keep it on the center of the aluminum piece that's down here, keeping it away. So that's as far out as I can put it there, and as far out as I can put it there. So now that I got that marked, I can actually position them where I want them and weld them in. So I got them all drilled out, trimmed up, ready to go. Second one is there. And then I come over and I mark them here. Lay them in place, mark where I think they're going to go. And I turn around and I grinded all the spots underneath them there. So they're ready to go there like that. I went and found a 90-degree piece of steel that I had there. And I actually measured out the distance that they had to be apart, clamped it on there. So that way now these stay parallel. Because you can weld one on this way here and weld the other one on this way here and then it's going to fit. They got to be kept parallel. So I clamped it on to both of them there, measured the distance apart. So now both of them are parallel and I got them in position. I can go ahead and weld them on. There it is, mounted in place. Little stands now lifts it up off the rad support, so it's not touching nothing here in the middle. It's high enough that it's actually raised up there, so it sits there and it's like it won't move from side to side this way. I can grab it and try to rock it. It's not going to move. Now I just got to find a way to mount the top along here. So I'm going to mount the upper rad support. It's going to come onto here somewhere, come across over the top of this, over here somehow. I got to drop it down. I got to leave this below this section here because I got to deal with the hood closing. So it's got to mount down below this section here. But then I want to have it the height of this here. I'm trying to cover this up. I'll probably cut a hole for this and go across, but I got to be able to take it out. So I got to have it so I can tip it forward this way here, lift it out, and slip it back into place like so. That's the idea I got in my head. I'm going to contemplate now and figure out, design something for that. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out some way that I can turn around and mount this and reinforce it. The biggest thing I want something structurally strong to go from one side to the other. Now the piece that I puts over the top here, the problem I got is over here I'm going to be cutting a large section of it out of it. So there's going to be no strength right here, okay? But I want to have it, this section opened and give it a little bit of strength here. So what I come up with is I'm going to have to run something across here first to get my shape here, and then I'll make a cap top for it. Hunting through my pile of stuff, I come across a length of conduit, and I'm going to use this here. I'm going to bend it up. I know this was belong to a tent or something. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend the ends of it here. I'm going to bend them down on either end. I'm going to find a spot and bend it down. And then I'm going to go over and mount that right here on the side somewhere. And that way, then that'll be my starting point. I'll go from here. I'll come up on an angle, go across here, go down on an angle to the here. And I think I'm going to make a bracket with an L bracket going this way here, so that way when I put the top on, I can just weld to the top of it over here. And I can spot weld it in through here with the piece that I got, that I'm putting here. So, go figure out some way to bend that up now and get that fitting in there. So here's where I'm to. I got the piece cut off and I got it bent. All I did is I clamped this into the vise. I ran the pipe through there, like so. And just took my time bending it around a piece of pipe. It's kinked it a small bit, but I got the shape on the top. I'm not too concerned about the bottom side. I wasn't going to haul on a bender just for that. And I wanted a nice, simple bend. I ended up cutting it off too short. I had to weld ends back onto it again to get it to fit in there. And then I got it over here, and I got it figured out. That's going to go somehow like that. Across there. Hard to do with one hand, but you get the idea. And what I'm doing over here now is I want to make two mounts. I got two pieces of steel cut off here. I'm going to bend these on probably like a, I don't know. Not quite, now I won't bend them on a 90 because they got to be at a bit of an angle there. So I'll get these bent up and I'll show you on top about what I'm going to do with them. And this will give you a rough idea of what I'm talking about doing here. That will be welded to this piece here, and that'll be plug welded in across here on the bottom side, because I got the angle on it. I got to trim that off after. And then this piece will come over, and it'll weld on across here, and it'll come across and weld on the front here. Same with this side here, and you can see the height of it, the way it is. I can run my mount for this off of this here, come in and come up to that there, give me strength for that. This here comes back down and brings up in this. What I'll end up doing is I'll rig up some sort of way. I'm thinking about making a cap that'll rivet onto the top here. And I can probably put 2 bolts down through here or something to bolt it in place. So you just take out these 2 bolts and slip it forward. Trying to figure out, when I build things, I build them to take them apart. So I don't worry about putting something in there. I got to build it so that it can be taken apart each time. And it looks tidy looking when it's done. But that's roughly the idea I'm going with there now. I got to figure out my heights now. I like to have this a little bit lower. It's a bit high here. I don't know though. I might leave it that high yet. Come up a bit higher on this side here. And have it so it's the same height as what this one is here. That will give me a little bit of a lip on the inside. And I can build something inside there. Anyway, I'm going to go figure this out some more and get this stuff trimmed up. And possibly get this welded to this bracket here and get it fit in place. And that way we can install this section here. I gets ahead of myself when I'm enjoying stuff. This is what I got done here now. I went and clamped 2 of these in place, measured them, got them in the position I wanted, got this in the position I wanted to, clamped it here, clamped it on the panel there, and then welded it on and welded it on there. I used the car to get these angles, so I fit this back on the car, and that's how I got this all fitted. Then I took it off, then I welded everything up, then I turned around and I drilled a few spot weld holes on either side. So now that's ready to install. So let's fit this in place there now. Well now, I've been 20 minutes now chasing this around, tweaking this side here, clamping it in place. One side's too high, one side's too low. There is subtle differences from left to right from the body itself, but I gotta let it go. It's very subtle. Like, I'm a perfectionist, and when it comes to certain things, and here I'm just going to have to live with it. It's very hard to see, and I'm not even going to put it out, point it out. So, boo boo. Anyway, I got this figured out here now. I got the same distances here, Distance from the center of this down to the bottom of the rad support's the same there. It touches the radiator there. It touches the radiator there. It won't be doing that later on because it's going to be stood off at a small bit like that when it's bolted on. And the distance from here down to the rad support's the same on both sides. From this point here down to the rad support down here, that's the same. So I got that position here now. When you're looking across it here now, you can see that it's just, the top of this here is just around this here was where I wanted it on both sides. So it's the same height going across the top of the radiator. And so I'm quite pleased with that. So all it is now is I got to go in there and spot weld them few spot welds there, and spot weld them few in there, and that there will be welded on. So I got that all mounted and in place, all welded up, grinded up. So all this is dressed in here now. So this is permanently part of the car. So what I got to do now is I got to build a top piece that'll go over the top of this here. And I'm looking at, because I got this angle down here. This is not a square piece. And then trying to fight with this here, trying to get this angle right, trying to get the right length, trying to get the roll on it. I think I'm going to make a piece as long as I can. I'll come to about the roll here, and then I'll put a small section in here. I'll weld two of them together, and that's the way I'll do it. I haven't got nothing here that is the actual full length of it here. I got some stuff here I'm trying to save for crusty, some metal, and I don't want to go cutting it up. But I have other stuff here, but the panels are not as long. They only come to about here somewhere, and so that's what I'm going to use. Because it got a nice edge, this stuff here. It's got a nice edge on it. And I want to use this edge on the front side. I'll trim it down later, but I want to have a nice crisp edge on the front side of it. So what I'm going to do there now is going to measure up the distance that I want this here, how wide, which is basically this wide here. And I'm going to cut out some steel and bend up some metal so I can cap this off. So I went ahead, took some of that steel, left the edge on it. It's a strange edge. I'm going to leave it alone for now. I'm going to have trim a portion of it off, but I think the angle is on is fine. Give strength to it. Then I turn around and measured it off. Piece is about 6 inches wide, and I think I measured this here. From here to here was like 3 3/4 of an inch. And then I set it up in a break. Then I need another piece to finish off the ends. And what I did is I figured out how long it had to be, 5 inches at least. And what I did then is I doubled it, and I made one. That way it's consistent. Instead of trying to make it two separate ones and try to get the bends just so, I just made one and cut it in half. So now I got enough of the pieces here to make the upper rad support. I'm going to start trimming this up now to flow this down around either side and trimming this up so it fits down the corner nice. So I got a bunch of pieces cut at an angle here. You saw me how I cut that there. Measured it off on the inside here, and I just transferred it out to here and I drew a line from there to the corner, cut it off. That's how I got the fit down there. Did the same thing over here. Then I turned around and I cut the edge off of this here, but I left the roll on it, on this side here. I wanted to leave the roll on it here, and same with up on this side here. And then on the inside I cut the lip off it all together. Right there. Now I got a nice gradual roll. I went over on the vise and I just used the roll on the vise to shape it. And it's because I want to get this here to roll. Then I come over here and overlap the two of them. And I could see the bottom through this here, from this end and this end here. And I scribed it and cut it off there. And I scribed it and cut it off there. Now I got two of them together there now. I'm just going to turn around now and butt weld two of them sections there in place. And then that'll make the whole thing all one piece. And then I got to cap this end here, and cap that end there. And then I got a nice rad support for the upper section. All I have to do then is I'll cut out for the actual filler neck, but that's the big part there, getting that piece done. So, get this welded up now. So I got the other side done as well. And I got the top all welded up. All I got left to do now is put pieces on the back side here, but I think I can take it off. This is pretty strong there now, and I can weld the back side off it. But there you have it. I got it all let go there. It'll just come right off now. There's the shape of it. I'm going to weld the back side here now. The next thing I'm going to do. Weld them up there on both sides. I'll get them welded up. And then I'm going to sit down and I'm going to grind that up. I'm going to grind that up there now and dress it up. I'm going to trim some of this off down here. Flow it down here so it looks nice. And I'm going to trim off some of the back as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go get all that done because this one's getting long. And I want to get this done today. So we'll get this here upper rad support ready to install. I got the inside section done. Welded around. And then I went ahead and I welded the inside of everything. And here I run out of wire. And I usually run 023 in my welder, and I had a full roll of 030 there. Instead of running out, I figured I'd just use it. I can tell you there's some build up on that. Some lot of grinding I got to do there. I've always said that. Can't even lay it down nice, just high hills is all of this. That's it. I may do what I got here. Look at that, look, oh my. I'm going to go ahead now and grind all it up. There you have it. That's in place there now. I'm not going to weld this in yet. One last thing I want to do before I give her up. I'm going to cut that notch for that. I got to figure out a measure from here, put the radiator back in place, make up some sort of template or something that I can actually run across to here, mark it around it, then I can trim this up. That way I can put the radiator in place to make sure everything's sort of clear in here. And it looks the part then, see? But it's got a nice flow going to across the front of it there now. Right, and I'll spot weld it on along there, and I'll weld it on, spot weld it on along that pipe along there. That'll give it strength to the whole works of it. There's a lot more got to be done. I'm eventually going to close this in. I got to build a hood latch to come up to here as well. Of course, then I got inner fender wells. There's lots more stuff that got to be added onto this. But the main structure first is to get the radiator situated, so that I can start building everything around the radiator. Because I'm closing in these side panels here. I'm closing that in there, so there's nothing in the engine bay. The engine bay will be fully closed off. Inner fender wells. I got to redo the firewall. I already talked about that. But for now, I'm going to get this here finished up, so it's ready that I can probably weld it in. I've been thinking about a few other ideas I'm going to do with it. But for now, let's just get this notch put in it. So I got the radiator put back in place to center it up, and all I'm going to do here first is I'm going to cut out a template of the actual cut that I want. And I just went over and got a piece of cardboard. I'm just going to cut a notch out of this here. It's long enough because I can tape it onto the fender then, and that way I can just fold it down over and mark it that way, so I can fit it after the fact when I get this cut out. So all I'm going to do is figure out how wide I want it, cut it a circle, cut a notch out of it, and then go over and tape it on the fender. You make do with what you can. This is all I'm going to do now is I can just lift this up and lay it in place. And then I can lift this up here, remove the radiator, put the panel in, lay that back down, mark it out. Well, now, I still got some more fine tuning to do. I'm going to drop it in and slide it back, and it has to stay up high on the bottom stands down here. It has to come forward and then drop down in order to fit on these, so I'm going to have to do some calculations, some changes to something like that. The lip in here, I may be able to remove a bit of it. It's the first time I actually had the radiator in place with the whole thing put together. So it's fitting in there pretty good. It's a bit of a snug. This here will have to be trimmed up a bit more, but simple how I got it there. You know, you can see how nice that fits there now. It's almost a perfect snug fit against that, but I want to give it a bit more room there. And I'm going to want to put a sleeve around there, weld on the bottom side of it, so there's a little lip all the way around, just to give strength to that area there. But that's basically it. I'll have to do some more fine tuning on it. There's a lot more going to be done on this here. This is only the starting of it. What you see here now is the works of 2 weeks, okay? No, it's not 2 weeks of work. I haven't been out there every single day working. I've come out here and I've got one piece welded together and then sit down thinking about how everything's going to go together, okay? Most of my time with this here, I've been doing other stuff along the way, but I've been coming back and forth to this because there's just so much going on, okay? I had to, I had got to think about the radiator, a fan, clearances for the motor. I got to make sure the height of the radiator is a certain height. I got a condenser that got to go out here. And, I had to think about the mounts, where they were going to go to, forward and back, how I was going to mount to the sides here, what way I had to have clearances for the hood. There's a whole bunch of things were going on, and I had to sit down and think about it all. And there's still lots more to do. Like, I'm about to join all this into the fender over here, and I'm closing in this section here from outside, and quite possibly going to continue on down here and have a piece going in this way here, coming up to this mount here. I got a whole bunch of ideas in my head what I'm going to do. The one thing about this here was kind of hard to sit down and plan this out, like draw it on paper, because you haven't got no square measurements. You're off a round car, so you're trying to figure everything out off a round car. On top of that, like, this car was far from symmetrical, okay? There's parts of this car now that are out of whack, and like, I've been taking measurements off the bolts back here, trying to get stuff up. Firewall's a waste of time, okay? I got a lot of stuff going on, trying to get this all figured out. But I'm getting there, and I'm quite pleased where it's coming together. It doesn't, look like it's just an old squared off section. It's got a nice flow going to the top of it. It's got a thickness to it, right? It's got a nice little inlay now cut out for the actual radiator spout right there. But I got a lot more to do with it yet. But, I don't know how interested you guys are and stuff like this, because I have a lot of this work I got to do to this car. I got to build in their fender wells. I got to build a firewall. I know a lot of you guys enjoys the rust repair and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm babbling on here. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one here. I hope the tips were good. And until next time. Rito, what you saying? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Where are you going? Peanut, what are you saying?